Take two. This is Lior Allay, one of the co-founders of Going Beyond the Lens. I will be joined shortly by Bunny Luna, one of the three original members. And we're going to be talking a little bit about our event on Sunday. So hopefully they will be joining us in just a moment and we will be able to get started. My video feed wasn't coming through pretty well. Good. Joining now.
Yay! Let me switch my camera around. Yeah!
Yay! Thank you.
I can see you now. Yay! Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good. I was able to spend some time meditating after I woke up before I got on here, so that was nice.
I love that. That's so special. Yeah, I mean, that definitely falls right into what we're talking about today, which is self-love, preparing for our community conversation on Sunday.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you feel like is one of the big differences between the conversation versus the art share? For folks that haven't been.
Well, they're very different. Before we had them combined, and that was pretty cool. But also we were chronically over an hour every time for our event.
To go over another hour.
Because we were so excited about all the art, we didn't want to cut anything short, so we always went long for those. And we were like, okay, so everybody really loves these art shares, let's separate it. So we have its own event for art shares, and then we have its own event for the conversation. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And this is our first time doing both in 1 month, so that's exciting. So I'd say the main difference between the art share and the conversation is, I guess for me personally, the level of preparation that I have to do for it. I feel I have to prepare more for the conversation than for the art share. Since the conversation, we start off the three of us, you, me, and Roarie. We start off the conversation by sharing our practice, and then we open the floor for other folks to share their answers to the questions that we ask when they sign up. So it takes me, I think, more brain power to think about what all I want to share. And I usually feel a little more nervous during the conversation because I feel since we share our practice, our process and stuff at the beginning, we're in a way, we're showing that hey, we're the professional at this, and this is our information. And I want to say, yes, I do have a lot of experience, so I would consider myself a professional, knowledgeable person. But at the same time, I'm not the only person with answers, and I'm not the only person with ideas.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to seem like the three of us are the be all end all. We have all the answers.
Right.
No, that's what the conversation's about. We share our process, and then that opens up the floor for everyone else to also share. So I think it's wonderful because we learn from each other, and it's not just here is all of our information, period. You don't have any, there's no contact between us. We're just giving you information. It's not that. It's here's our information, and we are excited to hear your information and how we can morph them together and learn from each other. So yeah, that's the main difference.
I love that. That gives people because I'm thinking there might be some people that haven't come even to the combo events. And now that we're piecing it out and we're giving two opportunities to really dig into each individually, I think that it's enriched both experiences because, like you said, we start off the conversation with what works for us, only because we have decades of experience, and it's valuable in sharing, so we can learn from each other. But that doesn't mean that we ever are saying like, oh, we're the end all be all. We're saying that everyone's experiences and information and practices are equally as valuable. And so we're excited to gather to both give and receive, and share that with the community, so that, like, let's say you come to the community event and you know what, like, you don't resonate with the three, with us, are the founders' perspectives. You're definitely going to resonate with at least one person's share. You know what I mean? So it's like everyone is able to come, be present, and take what they need, and decide for themselves and be autonomous over their experience and decide which information is valuable, instead of like us saying like, oh, this is the, like rigidly, like this is the protocol. We're sort of dismantling that idea and allowing the community to participate in its own creating of value and creating of information. I think that's so special.
Yeah. I guess this is bringing me to the thing that I wanted to mention, is the art shares are free for like 100% free. You just sign up and get the email for how to join. The conversation, since it's more in depth, we have it donation based, so you can pay like any amount that you want to join. You can pay like $1. You can pay $50. You can pay whatever you want. On the webpage, it looks like it's $15 to get in, because that's like our general admission like ticket price. But we also have a donation ticket price where you can get in for a donation of whatever amount you want.
The 15 is just there as a suggestion, implicating that if we were to ticket this event, this is what we would ticket it at, so that how to choose a donation that is best for you. And the other thing is, you could go through an event and realize that it was so much more valuable to you than the $1 or $2 that you donated. There are other opportunities to get involved with us and donate and support the project and the online offerings that we're providing for the community. And that's in more ways than just money as well. Like, we are going to be building in opportunities for our membership to be volunteering and get their hands, kind of dirty in the behind the scenes stuff of how we make this happen, because it is a lot of work, and we do it because it's valuable, because we learn just as much from these experiences as the people that come, to share it with us. So, yeah.
I'm so excited.
So excited.
I think I'm extra excited about this topic this month, since it's like self-love, because I've been kind of, maybe I want to say obsessed, or just like thinking a lot about like, how can I take better care of myself? How can I like show myself love in more ways, like through small things throughout the day? And I'm like extra excited to see what other people are going to say about how they include self-love in their life or like in their artistic practice. Because like, there's never enough love, right? Like, or like, maybe there is enough love, but like, there's never too much love. How about that? That's better. There's never too much.
I also think that the unlimitedness of our love and affection, it gets sort of crowded out of our lives in terms of like how much time and space we devote to an action. It can get crowded out of our lives by all of the cultural shoulds that come in, right? Like, there's a level of, I don't know if this is true for you, but it's definitely true for me. Like, in order to take the time I need to address, symptoms that I'm feeling, or to take really good care of myself to prepare for the day or whatever, it takes time and energy. And if there are other things on my to-do list that will produce money, I tend to privilege those things over my needs. And so I've had to build a really, really strict and like, not rigid, but a system of self-care that I take really seriously, that I take just as seriously as my work. And I wouldn't have gotten to that place if I wasn't able to have the discussions with other people and other artists, understanding like, oh, you're right. Like, we actually can't even get to doing the work that we're supposed to be doing if we don't take really good care of ourselves. So there's this like mutual affirmation that happens when we're talking about self-love together. Because you can't bully yourself into taking good care of yourself. That's not,
like,
you can't do
like
that.
An oxymoron.
Right. You can't be like
canceling out
meditating. That's not, you're not going to meditate then and feel good about it. You're going to meditate and be like, up in your head the whole time. So having the opportunity to share insights and experiences and concepts and all of that around self-love with other creatives and other human beings, it affirms the energy that you spend on that and, reminds you that it is super valuable and that you can't even do all the other things you think you have to do if you don't do this first. And you get the accountability of there's other people out there in the world cheering you on. Like, hey, next time I'm doing my morning dishwashing or whatever, I'm going to think of you. Or, sort of like knowing what's happening in other people's bodies, even though we're separated by time and space, there's a certain like momentum or accountability or motivation maybe where you're like, oh, just by saying that this is important for me to do, and by setting the time aside for me, that means that somebody else like might witness that and decide that they're worth it too. Yeah,
that's a big thing for me anyway, is like realizing that there's not just one way to do things in general, and two, usually like when someone's posting about something or sharing about something about themselves, it makes more room for everyone else. Like as soon as one person's like, this is my experience and this is what I need, then it gives that like more room and space for everyone else to be like, oh, I need this too. So that's also important. I'm able to say that this is important. Someone else is showing me that it's important. So maybe it is important. And I felt that it's important. I just didn't like feel super like confident about it. But now I feel more confident because there's another person that's also affirming that this is important.
We're inherently social animals. And as much as like so much of our lives are completely independent. I mean, think of how much happens just inside your own head, inside your body, that you like can never really communicate to other people, even though the same thing is probably happening on the inside of their bodies too. It's just there's so much of human life that like we exist in alone and that we experience alone, even though they are common shared experiences that other humans also have, because nobody's talking about it. We end up feeling that like it's just us. And so like I feel like the most valuable aspect of these community conversations, like regardless of the topic, is exactly what you just mentioned. Like that social permission that happens where we're sort of able to like look at the shame gremlins that pop up and be like, when I go to do self-care, like this judgmental capitalist manager comes in and is like, you should log on and answer an email. What? No, like you can separate out these programmed voices that exist because of our cultural programming, and you get to make decisions because your community members reflect back to you what it might look like if you weren't under their influence. And then you get to choose. Is that the voice that I want to have in my head, or no? Do I want to change that and maybe take inspiration from somebody else's gentle self-love talk or routine or whatever?
Yeah. Roarie and I were talking a little bit about routine on Tuesday when we were doing a live earlier this week. I think for me personally, routine is definitely a big part of self-love and self-care for my life. So I'm curious to see how routine like falls into the conversation with other people as well.
Yeah, me too. Especially because my relationship to routine, like prior to this year, like before Corona, I was like, I don't need a routine. I don't believe in that. Like every day is different, and that's fine. But
Yeah.
I was moving so fast that it wasn't until I was like forced to slow down that I realized, like, I did have routines. They were just unconscious ones, which is not great. You know, like our consciousness can be hijacked by 1,000 different messages that we're receiving from advertisements all the time, from like any movie you watch, any book you read, everything that you ingest is, you know, sharing or communicating a message with a set of values that may or may not match what you actually want to live.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like, you don't realize that if you don't actually analyze your routines or your patterns or your practices, whether it's self-love or anything else, like they still exist. They're just cycling without your influence, which is never really a great thing.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. Awareness.
So here's to making the unconscious conscious, hopefully.
Yeah. Like this is, I think, one of my least favorite things about capitalism is the way in which it makes us feel undeserving, or makes us question if we are like worthy of doing. Is it okay if I get some self-love or some self-care before I've worked? Because we have this idea that like we were told we need to earn it, or we'll get spoiled if we're treated too nicely. It's bullshit. You don't get spoiled from being treated nicely. Like,
No.
It's like you get spoiled when you feel entitled and no one tells you like about, you know, yourself. But I don't believe in any idea of like spoiling your body or your organism with self-care. I think it actually goes the opposite way. When we take really good care of ourselves, it increases our capacity to do work and to be out in the world and to be safely connected with people. So
definitely.
Yeah, demystifying. We're deconstructing so many cultural myths in these spaces, in these community conversations. I think that's like so valuable. And in addition to the fact that we get to learn from each other, it's like we get to unlearn things with each other too. So important.
Yeah, it's like a magical space where anything is possible, because if we can imagine something, then it probably either already exists or is going to exist. Like, if we imagine it, it already exists somewhere. It exists in our brain already, so it's probably going to be out there at some point.
Like, I mean, think about like the very first event that we did for Going Beyond the Lens. We had no idea if anybody would show up. We just knew that this was something that like felt like it was going to provide value for us, and that we could imagine ourselves like, you know, years ago wanting to receive this information. And so we were like, you know what, if we want to live in this kind of world so badly, there's probably other people who have that same desire. And the fact, like, so I don't even know what the numbers were, like how many different people, if we added up all the events, like how many people do you think have like been touched by this project, you know, from all different parts of the world? Like, it's so affirming. And
yeah. We haven't even been doing this a whole year yet.
Right?
Like, May was when we first started doing this, so it's like almost been a year, but it's not even been a year yet, and it's like already like morphed and grown, and I'm so excited. It's really wonderful. Like, I'm so excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, and I like being able to look forward to the same voices. Like, I love getting new voices as well. Like, every single time we always have new people, but there's also something really super beautiful about like hearing someone connect with you on like a really authentic, vulnerable, like deeply soul connecting and affirming way, and then separating and not knowing what happens to them. And then you come back together like, you know, a couple months or a couple weeks later, and you get to hear more from that person. And it's like this gorgeous unfolding, and witnessing that happening in our community, and the way that people are connecting with each other. Like, in the first event, you guys were strangers you had never met. And by the third one, you collaborated together. Like, what? That's
yes.
the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I think the connections and like the repeat people that come back over and over again, and like I think that's one of also like a thing that is very special that I really appreciate about this community, is that like we hold the space by having these events, but then the participants frequently will like after the event go find everybody else that was there with them and like make friends with them online and like follow their stuff. And then like I just love seeing like not even anywhere near events, like random days where I'm just like, I get online and I see someone from an event posting stuff from like another person that was also at the event. And I'm like, yes, I love that you're staying in touch with each other. Please do it. Like community. That's like the really exciting part about this is like just creative community in general. And there's so many different kinds of artists that come to these. So it's like a mashup of like all these different kinds of like mediums and people. And it's just really wonderful to see everybody like connecting and like staying in connection like between the events or after the events.
Like that's like so many, I think, groups want to use the word community. And it kind of frustrates me because I'm like, if we parse that word out, to commune and unity are in this word, community. You're coming together, you're connecting. It's not something where it's like we just come together and we bounce off each other and we never see each other again. Like real community is when we are sharing information, we're sharing resources, we're connecting with people on like a genuine level. It's not just I meet you once and I forget about you. It's like I remember the first thing that Arthur Robinson ever said in one of our events. And I continue to follow this artist and absorb all of the different mediums that he offers us. And it's brilliant. And I feel that way about so many of our participants that come time and time again. It's not just community for the moment. You're coming to share in a group experience that we're creating together, but then you go forward with these connections tethered to us. Like we're building, we're radiating out, and it's not something where it's like you come together once and like we forget about you. You know what I mean? It's like we remember you, and so do the other participants, in fact, and you actually are making real friends. And when you don't show up, people miss you. Like how many online events do you go to where you're like, oh, if I don't show up, like no one will be mad, but I know that they'll miss me. That feels so good. Yeah.
Oh, community. That's like the thing that I've missed the most about like with COVID and everything, like feeling like I don't have a sense of community. And I think that's a big part of like the drive to create Going Beyond the Lens is because we need community. Like we're mammals. We like need each other literally.
Yeah.
And like just feeling that loss of community when we no longer could like really be together in person was hard and difficult and uncomfortable, and it still is. But having these events is a really great like surrogate or like little way to kind of get around the not being able to get together in person. We can get together virtually.
Yeah. I think the other value too is that, let's be honest, there are people that you are separated from for all different kinds of reasons. Like there might be people that you love that you're separated from geographically or whatever. I noticed that in like learning how to deeply connect online, we're sort of strengthening our ability to stay connected no matter what happens. And so in that respect, I think that we're actually learning a really important skill. And by the time we are ready and it's safe to gather in person again, which I hope that we'll be able to do similar things like this in person too, I think that people are going to be like that much more ready and able to connect deeply. Because a lot of times people's inability to connect, it's not that they don't want to, it's that they literally don't know how.
Yeah.
Which is fair. Or
they don't feel like safe enough. Yeah.
Yeah, we're trained to not connect. We're trained to like perform and be functional and like follow manners and not really be genuine with each other. Mm-hmm. And we're relearning a new way to be. So it's like an entirely different culture. And that's what I would say to anybody thinking about coming right now. You are, by just showing up to these events, you're participating in creating a new paradigm. You are participating in creating a new collective understanding, a new culture that exists within creatives and just within collaborators, like just anybody that you would connect with in life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a crowdsourced
We're creating the world we want to live in.
On, yeah, exactly that. On like, can we make a utopia? Maybe. Let's find out. What would it look like?
Yeah. Let's experiment with this.
So reminder again, all of the links are in the Going Beyond the Lens bio, in Bunny Luna's bio, Roarie Yum's bio, and my bio, even though it's under Eccentric Earthling and not my name because Instagram hates me facing off the internet.
Yeah. But yes, come join us. It looks like tickets are $15. If you don't have $15, there's a donation ticket so you can pay however much you want to get in. It's this Sunday, the 28th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So excited.
So excited to hear from you all and see all your beautiful faces. We love you a lot. And we also have new YouTube videos up, so go check those out. If you didn't catch the Art Share event and you're like, what's that about? What's that look like? Going Beyond the Lens is on YouTube, and you can watch the full live event, obviously with censors, because our Art Shares are uncensored, and YouTube is sad about that.
Yeah.
But you can come to a live event if you want the real thing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Bunny. It's always a pleasure to see your face and connect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will see you all soon.
Yeah, thank you. Always a pleasure.